All right, let me get this up. Bring up this other site before I start on YouTube. All right, we should be good. Go live here, add title. Let's see, go live here. Okay, all right. Let this video fully start on Facebook first. It says I'm live. Okay, I guess I'm live. Cool. So, just want to do a recap real quick on this weekend's event. I've been, advertising and putting it out there, for about 3 weeks straight. And we had quite a few couples sign up. So just figured I'd do a little recap for those who didn't make it or may be interested in the next one. All right. Let a few more people come in before we really get started, though. Let's see. Try not to make this too long, but so as pretty much, if you're on any of my my social media, then and you know that this weekend I had a couples event, and the purpose, of the event was to literally give couples a tool or tools, that would help them carry out, their relationship. And, I call that having tools in your tool belt. And that was something that I discussed, with the couples who attended, is that in most cases, when we're entering relationships, we have a very limited amount of tools in our tool belt that make it possible for us to carry out good long-term, short-term, or mid-term relationships. So, most people are going into relationships without really the ability to even have one, that they really don't have the ability to problem solve, to understand how to work through things together. And so what I did is I showed them how astrology plays a tremendous part in their relationships, because it's the foundation of who you are. And if we can understand that aspect of astrology, then most people would find that their relationships go a lot smoother, simply by understanding who you are, right? When you understand who you are, you also get a better understanding of who your partner is, what kind of partner you need. And so we went directly into those type of things where we're talking about, this is what the sun sign represents, and this is how it affects your relationship with your partner. Because we understand, or some people will understand, what the sun sign means, right? But do you understand how it plays out in a relationship? Do you understand how the moon sign itself affects relationships? And those are some of the things that we talked about. We spoke about the fact that in most cases, when you're in a relationship, you are primarily dealing with your moon sign within the relationship most of the time, because relationships are based off of your emotions and your feelings toward that individual. So in relationships, the moon sign is very, very prominent. It's a very prominent placement, for relationships, because relationships, again, are navigated based on your feeling for that individual. So the moon and the Venus is very, very prominent within relationships. And we don't necessarily understand that part. So, we look at astrology a lot of times from the individual standpoint. But one of my main passions is to get couples to understand what and how astrology is affecting their relationship. We talked about the Venus and what role the Venus plays in the relationship, because most of the time people talk about love languages for the Venus, but the Venus is also prominent in showing you how you receive love. How do you receive love? How do you want to receive love? Well, this is, when we're talking about Venus, that's a part of one of the things that we're talking about, is how each individual will receive it themselves, right? And based on that, will have a lot to do with the long-term stability of a relationship. Because if a person is dealing with someone who does not know how to show up in love for them, if they don't know how to show up, then it will be extremely difficult to have a long-term relationship with that person, because the individual doesn't know how to show up, how to make you feel love. But then the question also becomes, for anyone, do you know how you want to be loved? And if you haven't really taken a close examination of your own chart, haven't worked with someone on your chart and don't understand your chart, then it's going to be very difficult for you to even understand it yourself. This is where most people go through, life and relationship to relationship, trying to figure it out in the relationship. And so when the relationship fails, then they do a recap of the relationship. Whereas if we take advantage of the ability to learn these things about ourselves prior to entering a relationship, then the relationships we enter into have a much better chance of being successful, just by us knowing this about ourselves. And so that's some of the things that we talked about this weekend, you know, um, how the moon and, like I said, the Venus, plays a prominent role within the relationship. The other thing we talked about was attraction. We talked about what attracted, individuals to their mate. What was it that drew you to that person? Right? And we can see a lot of that in a person's rising and the 180-degree opposite, which is the seventh house cusp. within that paradigm, within that structure of your chart, we can see a lot of what your type is. I can totally diagnose your physical and energetic type based off understanding what your rising. If you tell me what your rising is, I know what your type is, your physical and energetic type. Now, there's communication, there's problem solving, and emotional stability and things like that that comes from seeing other parts of your chart. But when you walk into a room, if you walk into a room and let's say you're in a club, a restaurant, a library, a bar, whatever it may be, and there's 100 people there, specifically, there's going to be a physical and energetic type that without talking to them, without knowing them, you're going to be attracted to. And by understanding a rising sign, I know what a person's type is and what type of energy their partner needs to bring throughout the life. And this type it doesn't change. Society will try to effectively make everyone think that everyone's type is the same. Society makes types a cookie cutter type of experience and thing. A man is supposed to be, tall, dark, and handsome, or a woman is supposed to be shaped like a Coke bottle, and this is what society will tell you. But that's not everyone's type. In fact, that's not most people's type. We're living in a society where everyone is trying to keep up with everyone, so that becomes, a problematic situation where because people are now trying to go for what's not for them, they also find themselves in situations that don't work because everyone is going after whatever society says the, the hierarchy of phenotypes are, right? One of the other important things we talked about was the couple's development together. Are they developing cohesively? What is each individual's life purpose? We talked about that because you can be in a relationship, and if your life purposes are so different, then hey, what's going on? What's going on? If the life purposes are so different, then it becomes extremely difficult to to be a cohesive unit. And I've experienced this, where based on what I do, the fact that, I teach people, that I'm in sought after, I have a lot of women around me because a lot of women are attracted to astrology and health and fitness and things of this nature, that the mate that I was with, we had a great relationship, but my purpose was antagonistic to the direction of her purpose and how she was developing. And so we ended up splitting, not because our relationship wasn't good, but because that antagonistic quality within a relationship made it very difficult, to stay together. It caused a lot of, issues of jealousy and things of this nature. So we end up splitting. And this becomes the reality of picking up a partner, a mate, who is going in totally different directions as you. So how do we see that? We can look at the Saturn, the North Node, the house 10, house 9, things of this nature to see where are you going? Is this person that I'm trying to marry going in a similar or same direction? If they're not, then it's probably going to be better not to start this as a long-term relationship, and it's probably better not to have this as a relationship at all. I appreciate that. I gotta send you all something, Bill. Yeah, I gotta send you all something. I was just thinking about you all yesterday. I appreciate you all so much. But if you're developing in this direction and it's not cohesive, if it's not cohesive, your directions are going in different. It makes it hard, very hard to stay together. The other thing that we talked about that was extremely helpful is about how not to take things so personal. And I'm sure you remember, this, Bill, because y'all talk about it in the video you all did. for my website about how not to take stuff personal. That's one of the biggest issues inside of a relationship. It's an issue inside of friendships. It's an issue inside of life, is that taking things personal. What happens is that because we're with someone, in that moment that something happens, it feels like it's a personal attack on you, on who you are as a person. That's what it feels like. And so we went over how to stop that feeling. How do you stop that? How do you start viewing your partner, right? Because if you can get past that point, if you can get past the point where things feel so personal with your mate when something goes wrong, you can pretty much get through anything. You can get pretty much through anything. That requires you laying your ego aside, your pride aside, um, and seeing the fact that you and your partner have individual journeys that you're walking together. You and your partner, your mate, your significant other have individual journeys that you're walking together, but the journeys are still individual. And during that journey, your mate will have an experience that they bring to their relationship that can antagonize or irritate or frustrate or even hurt you. But it's not really personal in the way that we think it's personal. So we tend to, when something happens, say, why did you do this to me? How could you treat me this way, right? Well, instead, if we can understand that this person is having an experience and I just happen to be a part of the reflection of that experience, it's not a personal attack towards me per se. What it is that they're trying to figure out how to navigate this experience, and maybe my actions or this and that is a part of their trigger that they're learning to evolve past. But that takes a heightened maturity to do those type of things. That takes a heightened understanding of your astrological placements, because you at that point need to know yourself also. You understand? You have to have a good deal of knowledge about yourself so that your self-esteem isn't constantly taking hits when something happens within a relationship, because that happens. The self-esteem takes a hit. One of the more other important things that we talked about was sexual archetypes and your sexual archetype, because a lot of people will have wonderful relationships outside of the bedroom. They're great. In the bedroom, a lot of relationships break down. And they break down primarily because of the differences in sexual archetypes. And so I've developed a program, and I have a program that teaches individuals as well as couples their sexual archetype based on astrology. So it's astrological sexual archetypes. And we went over that. And I shared some of the information, the new information that I put together to teach people these things. So understanding that aspect of you, right, allows a more intimate, deep connection with your partner, because you get an understanding of what you really need and what it really takes and why, right? And once you and your partner establish and know that, now the intimacy inside of the relationship totally changes. It's totally different. Now that intimacy feels better because you know each other on a much deeper level. Now it's no longer just about, sex, or it's just about this, and that. You understand, let's say that, um, you're a person with a Mars in Scorpio with a Venus in Gemini, and a moon in Scorpio, you understand why those placements, that certain types of intellectual stimulation must be necessary, even though that Scorpio Mars is there, and that Scorpio Mars loves to engage in sexual activity, but it also wants a deep, ravishing type of sexual activity, one that transfers the soul and spirit. At that same time, when it comes to love and things of this nature, there's an intellectual component there that must be satisfied, or that person's um, sexual readiness can wane in and out. Can wane in and out. They may be able to compartmentalize certain things. So we went into certain archetypes for that. The Lilith archetype, Astarte, you know, um, uh, archetype, the Basset archetype. All of those we went into the hedon archetype. Go into all of those things within the sexual archetype, astrological sexual archetype design form and platform that I've built. So that was what it was. I'm actually getting ready to at the end of October do another seminar. I'm debating on what kind I'll do. If you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear them. I'm thinking about doing another couples seminar because that one was so successful. I'm also thinking about doing one for parents with children. Um, so, if you have any suggestions, let me know about a seminar that would you would want to be a part of, that may help me put something together. But yeah, right now the big one is towards a seminar for parents with children, and then or doing another seminar for couples. I'm going to do one or the other in October, at the end of October, probably the last weekend of October or the weekend before Halloween, depending on how that falls. So be looking for that. Um, take a look at my website. The stuff for couples, I'm adding to it now, and it's actually already up, but it's not attached to my main website, so you can't even really find it. So I'll be attaching it to the main website. But if you need couples compatibility charts, if you're looking to understand your sexual archetype, if you're looking for astrological couples counseling and things like that, it's on the website, which will be up and ready, today. For that aspect, the website is already up. It's just I haven't attached those pages to the main website yet. I just set it up for the seminar this weekend. If you have any questions, hit me up. Check out my other social media: Twitter, TikTok, and TikTok, and YouTube. I'm Ra Speaks. Ra Speaks. Instagram is Ra_truth_, and Facebook is Ramiel L Bay. All right. I may be on tomorrow. If I do, I'll see you all then. All right. Peace and love.